Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Just a Fun Guy. This is Just a Fun Guy Coins, of course. I got to thinking. It's been a few months since I've used this setup. I was able to just use my phone, and the lighting was perfect, the camera was perfect, the sound was perfect, and it didn't involve all the setup. But I decided to dig the old tools out, and I'm probably going to do videos like this again for the foreseeable future. I will do more videos on my phone, but I'm going to reintroduce this setup here. Enough dilly-dallying around the subject of what I'm going to talk about today, and it's another I got to thinking. I haven't done a complete guide to coin roll hunting in a long time, and I'm going to do another one again. I'm going to cover all the bases and all the coins, and I'm going to make sure I won't have to do another one next year. Hopefully I won't have to do another one in a couple of years until another coin changes. And if that's the case, I could just update you on that coin. I cover a lot in this video, and it's probably going to be about an hour long. So sit back and relax, grab your popcorn, grab a soda, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. On with the complete guide to coin roll hunting. Before I get started, I want to say if you have any question or any concern at all, please feel free to comment down below. It doesn't matter if you are just starting out or if you've been coin collecting for years. There's no such thing as a dumb question when it comes to coin collecting. And there was a point where even I had no idea how to even determine the value of a nickel or what even the mint mark on a nickel was. There was a point I just thought, oh, that P or D looked cool on a coin, and I kept it for that, but I had no idea what it was. So if you have any questions whatsoever, comment them down below. First things first, let's cover the basic anatomy of a coin. You have the heads, which is the obverse, and the tails, which is the reverse. Then you have the motto, "Ain't Gotta Be Trust, United States of America." You've seen a coin like that before, whether it be penny, nickel, dime, quarter, $half, or dollar coin. And there might be one thing you notice on the coin you have no idea what it is. That is a mint mark. And mint marks on coins they're actually quite important because they tell you what mint these coins were minted at. Yes, you have United States mint in Washington, D.C., but though that's not the only place that mints coins. For example, here, this is a P mint mark, and that means that coin was minted in Philadelphia. There's also a D mint mark, which means it was minted in Denver, and an S mint mark, which means it was minted in San Francisco. And the last couple of years, a couple of rarer coins have had a W mint mark for West Point. And if you see a PDS or W on a coin, that's what that means is where they were minted. And on depends on what part of the country you're from, you're going to see more of P or D, because those are the most common. Let's start off with the easiest coin to hunt. Pennies. They're the easiest coin to hunt, and if you're just getting started, they're also the cheapest coin to hunt too. Pennies come in $25 boxes that look somewhat like this. There are several different designs of penny box that the bank has, but universally they're all going to be red. Red is the penny box. Some have holes, some don't, and if you're going to go to your bank and ask for pennies, ask for customer wrapped and circulated. You could also ask for machine wrapped and circulated, but there's a chance the bankers went through all those already. So custom wrap rolls are your bet, and your circulated coins are your bet. Or else, if you get the brand new machine rolls, it's a chance they're going to be all brand new pennies, only worth a grand total of 1 cent. When it comes to modern day pennies, 1982 to the present, there's not really much of anything when it comes to value to look out for, because 1982 was the last year copper was in pennies. If you find a copper penny, keep it, because copper is a precious metal. And they took that precious metal out of the penny because it got too expensive to produce. And penny is made from zinc nowadays, and there's still 2.1 cents to make a penny. And the first thing to look out for is the proof coin. That's the one thing you can bet on at least finding, well, it's a find, is a proof coin. And you can tell it's a proof coin by the S mint mark or a W mint mark on the 2019 and 2020 proof pennies. And what is a proof penny? It's a penny that was not intended for circulation. I've shown you my proof sets on the channel before, and what proof sets are, they're sets from the mint of all the coins, and proof coins are minted differently. They're stamped twice, they're more polished, more refined, they look different from an uncirculated coin. And they were not intended for circulation. Somehow somebody broke open their proof set, or the mint accidentally put them into circulation. And if you find a proof coin and it's in decent enough condition, they could be worth a couple of cents, if not a couple of bucks. It depends on what kind of proof coin you got. I will make an exception to the rule. There are some modern day pennies that are worth more than 1 penny. And it's 2009. And in 2009, it's the last year of the Lincoln Memorial cent, but it's not the Shield cent yet. It was the transitional year between 2008 and 2010. I remember back in 2009 they were changing the back of the penny, and it was a big deal too. These 4 the reverses, those 4 reverses, those 4 tails came out for circulation. And it's all about Lincoln's life. His professional life, his presidency, Lincoln sitting on a log. It's all there. And I pull them out of circulation because they're a cool thing to have. They only came out 1 year, 2009. And I have a lot of 2009s, so I've stopped pulling them out of circulation. But if you're new at this, keep as many as you want. And with the Lincoln sitting on the log one, if you look under the microscope, there's a double thumb error, and those could be worth a few bucks, so keep an eye out for that. From 1982 backwards, all those pennies were made of copper. And from 1959 to 1982, there really isn't much to look for when it comes to copper pennies. I'll give you a few examples of what to look for. Take, for example, this image here. On the very top image is a white AM, and the very bottom image is a closed AM. The white AM on the 1989 Philadelphia penny can be worth $25. There are particular errors in these coins that you can look for in the 1959 to 1982 coins. You can even look for them in the other pennies I'm going to mention, and they also apply to the other coins on the list, the nickels, dimes, the quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins. So it only constitutes talking about them once, because the video is just going to be way too long if I talk about these particular errors in all the other coins, so I'm only going to mention them once. That is the off-center, clipped planchet, and blank planchet. The first coin I'm going to talk about when it comes to errors is the off-center. How this off-center error happens is when the coin is stamped at the mint, it should be stamped in the very center. And that doesn't happen sometimes. Sometimes the coin's a little off-center, and when the coin gets stamped, it doesn't stamp correctly. It stamps off-center. And it can lead to examples like the picture above. And there are some off-center pennies that take a keen eye to look for. Like you'd have to look for it under a microscope. Some of the off-center coins can only be an inch or two off-center, like a millimeter or two off-center. It could be an inch or two off-center, or they can be like this particular coin. And off-center coins like this are usually caught by the mint and remelted down and redone. Same with the clipped planchet and blank planchet, but the mint always doesn't catch the particular error. Sometimes these error coins make it out past the mint, and off-center coins, same going with the rest of these coins, can be worth a few bucks in the right condition. The clipped planchet. The clipped planchet is also known as a curved clip. The curved clip happens when the sheet of planchet strip, or the strip of metal the coin is made out of, is not advanced forwards far enough after having the blanks punched out, causing the blank dies to overlap the previous punched out holes. This results in coins with curved areas of metal missing, called a curved clip or a clipped planchet. The clipped planchet. The clipped planchet is also known as a curved clip. The curved clip happens when the sheet of planchet strip, or the strip of metal the coin is made out of, is not advanced forwards far enough after having the blanks punched out, causing the blank dies to overlap the previous punched out holes. This results in coins with curved areas of metal missing, called a curved clip or a clipped planchet. I just thought of one more error to look for, and this applies to the rest of the coins, so it only constitutes doing it once, and that's the doubled coin. You hear it known as the doubled coin, the DDR, the DDO, which means double die obverse and double die reverse. If it's doubled on the obverse, that's the heads, and the reverse is the tails. And this happens when the coin is stamped, but the coin is accidentally stamped again while being slightly askew. And this particular double die obverse I'm showing you is the 1955. It's one of the more famous and one of the more valuable double die coins, and the 1955 double die penny can be worth $55 or more in uncirculated mint condition. And I've seen they could be worth hundreds, if not thousands, in the right condition. So look out for those particular doubled coins, or any doubled coin to begin with. Wheat pennies. I recommend pulling any wheat penny out of circulation. They were minted from 1909 to 1958, and they were originally issued to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. And they were the first U.S. coins to feature a real person. So if you coin collect pennies, if you coin roll hunt pennies, pull wheat pennies out, every coin collector will do that. And it's going to be for that significant reason of Lincoln's 100th anniversary of his birth, and they feature a real person on them. There are some wheat pennies that are more common than others. For example, the 1945 wheat penny, there were over 1 billion minted, and they're only going to be worth face value. All wheat pennies are good to pull out of circulation, and you can always check for the errors I've mentioned previously. But there's a couple of wheat pennies of significance I want to mention that you should look for with, keep a close eye out for them. The first penny is going to be relatively obvious to spot, and that's steel penny, steely, steel set, whatever you want to call it. In 1943, copper was rationed for World War II, and that year pennies were made out of steel. They stick to a magnet, and they look like they're made of steel. They don't have that copper color to them. There was also a bronze penny from that year worth millions, but look for the steel one, because that's one you can find in circulation to this day. And it depends on what condition they're in. They can be worth a few pennies to a few bucks. These pennies are going to stick out like a sore thumb, and if you have a magnet, they will stick to a magnet. So look out for them. Of course, there's an off chance a penny sticks to the magnet, and it's just a modern day, one of the last Canadian pennies, but I digress. The last wheat penny of really strong significance is the 1909 SVDB penny. 1909, San Francisco, and VDB are the initials, Victor David Brunner, of the person who designed the coin to begin with. There are less than 1 million minted, and in average condition, they're worth $940. In uncirculated condition, they can go from between $1,800 and $2,200. $2,277 for a penny. Think about that. Now it's getting old. The next coin on my list you should look for, while rare, you can still find one, is an Indian head penny. And Indian head pennies, like I said, are rare, but there's a possibility of you finding them. And you can find them more often than not in what's called a collection dump. Somebody turns in their coin collection to the bank, or they turn in their grandpa's old coin collection to the bank because they didn't want it and grandpa passed away or something. And there's an off chance that you get those rolls, and then those coins go into your collection. That's how you're going to find a collection bank. And if you're a serious coin roll hunter, go to several different banks, get several different circulated rolls. You could probably find an Indian head penny in one in every maybe 50 to 100 boxes. And that's if you're super lucky. Indian head pennies, pull them out no matter what condition they are. Because it depends on what condition they're worth. They could be worth anywhere between a few bucks and over $400. And they're going to be very easy to spot because they look totally different from the Lincoln pennies. And if you think this penny is rare, wait until I tell you about the next one. The last penny I have for you on this list, there could be a chance you find it, but if you do, you've essentially won the penny lottery when it comes to coin roll hunting. The Flying Eagle penny. It's actually quite significant because it's the first penny that is penny-sized. Any penny larger than that is half-dollar sized, and you're only going to find it in customer wrap rolls because machines are going to reject it because it's a different material than the rest of the other pennies. It's made from a different composite of materials. They were minted from 1854-5 to 1858, and if you have the right Indian head penny, they're worth between $25 and $455. Nickels. Nickels are the next coin above pennies to hunt. You can consider them a level 2, so to speak, because they're going to be more expensive, and you're not going to find as much as pennies, but you can still find quite a bit when it comes to nickels. And nickels are the coin you want to hunt. Let's say you've hunted all of those penny boxes, and you want to, let's say you've dipped your toe in the water, now you want to jump in fully. Start off with nickels. And you may not find as much as pennies, but what are you going to find? First things first, let's identify what a nickel box looks like. A nickel box is going to be blue. The standard color on all nickel boxes is blue, and there's going to be $100 worth of nickels in the nickel box here. 20 nickels is $1, so there's going to be 200 nickels in a box. Jefferson nickels. They're the first type of nickel you're going to hunt. They're the only type of nickel you're going to hunt, because Jefferson nickels have been in circulation from 1939 to right now. So the last almost 90 years, it's been nothing but Jefferson nickels. And the modern day Jefferson nickels, I want to say from like 1960 to now, you're not really going to find much of anything. They're all clad, and they're all not worth much. You can still look for like the clipped planchet and the blank planchet and the double die and all that I've mentioned previously. But other than that, you're not going to find much. Although there is one particular type of Jefferson nickel error from that era. I was going to say error from that era, but you know what I mean. One particular error from what I want to call the modern Jefferson nickels that you'd find particularly interesting. I find particularly interesting, and it's actually worth quite a bit of money. One particular coin you should look for in the modern era when it comes to Jefferson nickels is the 1994 Philadelphia Special Frosted Matte Uncirculated Nickel. It was the first frosted matte finished coin in the Jefferson nickel series. This coin gives a beautiful matte appearance and is the result of sandblasting small sand particles and to give it a frosty look to the surface. Most proof coins in the special mint process are produced with a similar style of matte finish, but that was before the mid-20th century. And if you find one of these particular matte, uncirculated, frosted type coins, it can be $30 in MS65 or uncirculated condition. $30 for a 5-cent coin. Kinda awesome. Another particular type of nickel to look out for is a gold-plated Jefferson nickel. Any bit nickel can be gold-plated, but it's kind of rare to see them, but you will find them. And you'd have no idea it's a gold-plated Jefferson nickel, because if you look at it in a Jefferson roll, it just looks like a gold coin, and it could be anything. But it's most likely a gold-plated nickel. And these gold-plated nickels are cool to find, but they are not worth much more than face value. If you take one to a coin dealer and they're generous, they could give you 30 or 40 cents for it, but these particular nickels really aren't worth much more than face value. They're just cool to find because it's gold-plated nickel. Old Jefferson nickels. I recommend pulling out all the old Jefferson nickels you find. The old, I think, Jefferson nickels are from when they were first minted in 1938 to 1964. But I don't pull out the 60s Jefferson nickels. I usually pull out the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. And there are some 50s Jefferson nickels that really aren't worth much more than face value, but they're still cool to have. And I recommend pulling all those Jefferson nickels out, but there are a few particular years of nickel that are made of silver. It's the only time nickels have ever been made of silver. And they are called war nickels. War nickels are made of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. They were minted between 1942 and 1945, and you can tell what a war nickel is because the mint number, the mint mark, is going to be above the Monticello instead of to the side with like all the other nickels. It's kind of clear as day if it's a war nickel. It's one of those, it's as plain as the nose in your face type nickels, and if you find one, you have a silver nickel, and the silver content in it makes it more stable than the coins we have today. Buffalo nickels are up next. Buffalo nickels are what was minted before the Jefferson nickel. And believe it or not, buffalo nickels are actually quite common in circulation. If you keep hunting Jefferson nickels in nickel boxes, you could find a buffalo nickel. Let's say you're an avid hunter, maybe one in every 30 boxes you could find. And if you have a collection dump, that's an even better chance of finding a buffalo nickel. They were minted from 1913 to 1938, and some specimens can be thousands of dollars. But here's a flaw with the buffalo nickel. This buffalo nickel has a date on it, and there are some buffalo nickels that don't have dates on them. They're called dateless buffalo nickels. And the reason that these nickels are dateless is because there is a flaw with the design of this nickel that the year rubs off before anything else. It's the only coin in United States history that has that flaw. So if you find a dateless buffalo nickel, it's a buffalo nickel but you don't know what it is. And there's this thing called nicotate. And if you rub pouring nicotate on the nickel, it's an acid that eats away at the top layer of metal, and the bottom layers of metal have the date on them. But I warn you, be very careful. If you nicotate a coin, it devalues it by a lot of money. So don't nicotate unless you really have to. Or you could buy a bunch of dateless buffalo nickels online or from your local dealer, and there's a lot of dateless buffalo nickels that are only face value. So if you nicotate them, you're not devaluing them all that much, and it can actually be quite a fun project to get a whole bunch of dateless buffalo nickels and some nicotate, and you can learn how to practice how to use it. And it's a fun hobby if you have a bunch of dateless ones you want to see the dates off of. But make sure the nickel is no more than face value. Because if you nicotate a nickel that turns out it was a lot of money, you devalued it by pretty much 100%. So be very careful with the nicotate. And if you saw in the picture it could cause severe burns, that's because it's an acid. So wear gloves, wear goggles if you have any, and if you use nicotate, just be careful. It's not common, but it's super rare. It's rare to find a V-nickel in circulation. You can find them, but it's like finding an Indian head penny. You run the lottery, and it's exciting to find it, but it's not going to be in every box. And V-nickels were minted from 1883 to 1913, so they're also very, very old. And V-nickels, they're going to look rough when you find them because they've been in circulation for hundreds and 120 years. Not hundreds of years, but well over 100 years. And even rarer than finding a V-nickel would be finding a 1913 V-nickel. 5 are only to be known to exist. 5 of them. And they are worth $4.5 million or more. This is the $1 million nickel. No, I take that back. It's the $4.5 million nickel. This last nickel, you can forget about finding it in circulation. Unless you have a very, very prominent collection dump, or you get like a bunch of old nickels from a nickel roll that hasn't been opened in a long time, you're probably not going to find a shield nickel. A shield nickel is the very first nickel that was ever produced. Before this, there were half dimes. And the chance of finding a shield nickel, like I said, is quite slim to none. Shield nickels were minted from 1866 to 1883, and they can be worth from $25 to $200. It depends on what condition you find them in. The coin above the nickel is the dime. The dime is twice as much as a nickel. It is the 10-cent piece. And I guess you can consider this the level 3 of coin hunting, because dimes, they're much more expensive to hunt than nickels. And what particular dimes should you look for? What particular dimes should you hunt? I know exactly the ones. Now, identifying a dime box. Dime box is always going to be green. And I guess you could say the rolls are going to be green as well. I'm not quite sure if I have addressed this yet, but the rolls and the box are going to be the same color. So green is going to be for the dime box, and each box is going to contain $250 worth of dimes. Aside from all the errors that I mentioned in the pennies, and there are a couple of minor errors in dimes I haven't mentioned, you're basically just looking for silver. That's why you coin hunt dimes, is to look for straight silver. Silver dimes are from 1964 and prior. Before FDR was on the dime, there was the Mercury dime, also made of silver, 90% silver. The Mercury dime was designed by chief mint engraver at the time, Charles Barber, and they were minted from 1916 to 1945. Hunting dimes is a challenge, and how I know that is because a coin YouTuber you all should follow, Rob Finds Treasure, has hunted dimes in the past, and he's had some dry spells of 10 or 20 boxes. He'll sometimes find a proof dime here and there. He'll occasionally find silver, but they're a hard coin to hunt. But they're the second hardest coin to hunt. I'm even going to say the third hardest coin to hunt. And if you find a Mercury dime while hunting dimes in circulation, that would be pretty cool, but not as cool as finding the next coin in a dime box. I'm going to show you. The last dime I have for you on the list, if you find this coin roll hunting, you have essentially struck the lottery when it comes to coin roll hunting dimes. The Barber dime. They were minted from 1892 to 1916. And these things are rare to find in circulation. But one, because they're so old, and two, I'm sure coin collectors back in those days kept them and who knows where they wound up. And you have a better chance of finding a borrowed dime if you get a whole bunch of dime rolls from a collection dump. That's about the only way you're gonna find a borrowed dime in circulation anywhere, but you never know. They could wind up somewhere close to you at the bank, then you open up the bankroll and you find it. I don't know. But they are made of silver, and they can be worth $4 up to 132. And the 1894 S Barber dime is one of the rarest. It once sold in 2005 for $1.3 million, and another sold for $1.9 million in 2007. The quarter. It's where most of the population believes our currency ends, but it doesn't end here. And this is going to be the last currency you're going to hunt that banks have these boxes widely available. You can hunt half dollars and dollar coins all you want, but not every bank is going to have those types of boxes available. Quarters are going to be the last coin you hunt with boxes widely available in every bank across the whole United States of America. They're the, I'm going to say level 4 of quarter hunting. The latest coin to change anything is the quarter. In 2021, the quarter got an updated obverse design of George Washington. Before then, the obverse design hadn't changed since the 1930s. So for a solid 90 years, the quarter had been relatively the same in the front for that whole time. And the American Women Quarters program is the latest thing to happen to coins, and I pull these out of circulation. These quarters feature notable women in U.S. history commemorating the centennial of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution. The United States Mint they're issuing 5 designs each year from 2020 to 2025 for 20 total designs. One woman will be honored on the reverse of each coin selected for contributions to the United States in a wide spectrum of accomplishments and fields. For example, Sally Ride is on the quarter, Maya Angelou, and it's all going to be not limited to suffrage, civil rights, abolition, government, humanities, science, space, and arts. The next quarter I recommend keeping is the 2009 quarter. I actually recommend keeping 2009 from all the currencies because 2009 coins weren't minted as frequently as they are today, or any time in the past. There was a lower mintage of all 2009 coins. So if you find one, pull it out of circulation. And state quarters kind of falls in that category of coins I'd recommend pulling out. If you have a state quarter book or a map you want to fill out, I recommend pulling the state quarters out. But if you don't have a book or a map you want to fill with state quarters, put the back into circulation because they're not worth much more than 25 cents. Now we're on the hunt for silver. Washington silver quarters have been minted. They were minted from 1932 to 1964. These particular quarters have 90% silver in them. And I've seen from certain experiences with other coin YouTubers, mostly Rob Finds Treasure, trying to find silver in coins, in quarters particular, is it's a very slim to none chance. Maybe it's the luck he's having with all of his banks and all of his connections. I'm not sure. I personally have never hunted quarters because I've been too poor to. I've hunted quarter rolls in my lifetime, but not whole boxes. And from what I've seen with Rob's videos and a few other YouTubers, finding silver quarters in circulation, you'd be lucky to find a common 1964 every 400 to 500 boxes. They're very rare. And, I'll be more generous one every 100 boxes. I'll be more generous. If you find it, it's like finding an Indian head penny in the penny rules I mentioned earlier. Like winning the lottery for that particular coin denomination. The Standing Liberty Quarter. That's the quarter that was minted before the Washington quarter. If you find one of these in circulation, it's like you won 5 lotteries instead of the 1 lottery. These are super rare to find in coin roll hunting. The Standing Liberty quarters that I have, I've bought off of Etsy and eBay and Amazon and all that. But if you find one, good for you. They were minted from 1916 to 1932 when Washington was on the quarter. And these coins, if they're like condition, could be only a few bucks to several $100s. The coin minted before the Standing Liberty Quarter, or SLQ, was the Barber Quarter. They were minted from 1892 to 1916. The chance of finding one of these outside of a really great collection dump would be slim to none. But it's just cool to include the Barber Quarter for a reference point of what you can find. Anything older than a Barber Quarter, you're never ever going to find. So this is about as old as you can get when it comes to coin roll hunting. I could eat my words. You could find something even older than any of the coins that I have on the list. And if you do, comment down below. The last coin I'm going to cover is half dollars. You can hunt dollar coins, but it's rare. People don't often hunt dollar coins. I looked it up on YouTube. I saw like 5 videos of people hunting dollar coins, so it doesn't happen all that often. And half dollars are rare as it is, so half dollars are going to be the last coins that I tell you what to look for. That being said, the first type of half dollar you should look for are NAFC half dollars if you hunt boxes of half dollars. NAFC half dollars are not intended for circulation, and they rank from 2002 to 2020. This is usually what a half dollar box looks like, and there's going to be $500 of half dollars in this box. They're one of the most expensive coins to hunt, and they're the hardest coin to hunt. Take a look at Rob Finds Treasure again. He does every week these live streams where he hunts strictly half dollars. He'd be lucky to find one per stream, and these streams can be 2 hours long, and he can hunt 4 or 5 boxes at a time. There have been the rare streams where he found a collection dump, and he found tons of silver, but those are few and far between. So, don't hunt half dollars unless you're really hyped about the hunt and you're not really expecting to find anything, you're just doing it for fun. Which, you should just do it for fun, period. It's the hunt that's the excitement. Finding anything is it's the reward that pays off for being patient. Other than the NAFCs, or not intended for circulation half dollars, you're hunting for straight silver, period. There's nothing other than those and the NAFCs that you're hunting for. And the first silver half dollars I want to touch is the Kennedy half dollars. Kennedy half dollars were made of 90% silver from the time they were conceived all the way up to 1964. And from 1965 to 1968, they were made of like 30 or 40% silver. And then they were clad after that. You should look for the half dollar that was minted pre-Kennedy, the Franklin half dollar, or I call it the Benji half dollar. They were minted from 1948 to 1963, and they are made of 90% silver. I've given you some basic knowledge on coin roll hunting and what kind of coins to look for. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are hundreds of era coins, and there's definitely stuff I haven't covered, but I wanted to give you just a basic introduction into coin roll hunting, and I gave you a lot of information. This video is going to be approaching an hour long, and whether you're coin roll hunting boxes, or if it's change you got from the grocery store, or if it's change from your piggy bank, this is the information I want you to take with you to know what coins are worth something. And if there's anything I haven't covered and you want to let me know, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I hope my next video isn't going to be as long, but it's not going to have as much information. So with that being said, my name is Just a Fun Guy. I'm signing off. So long.